Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of SimplyPodLogical, a Simply Logical podcast.
Hello.
Got a bit of a crowd in here. We've got Cristine and my brother Matthew, Abstract Matt, if you will. Matt works in finance, and we have him here because today we're going to talk about this new cryptocurrency that allows you to invest in online celebrities, apparently. Sounds kind of like a Black Mirror episode. We'll get into it. But first, Matt, is your computer safe right now? Do you know where your computer is right now?
I hope it's still at home.
Matt, I'm going to have to ask you to take your computer and online security much more seriously. And it's a good thing that today's episode is brought to you by NordVPN. NordVPN is a service that protects your internet connection and privacy online. Maybe you want to watch a Netflix show that's only available in another country. NordVPN can help you get around internet censorship. Maybe you want to avoid malware hosting websites or annoying pop-ups. NordVPN can do that too. Maybe you want to look up Eva Gutowski fan pages without anyone knowing about it. NordVPN can help you out there as well. Right now, you can get a big discount on a 2-year plan of NordVPN at nordvpn.com/podlogical. And when you use the code PodLogical, you'll get an extra month free. And it's risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. Cristine, how do you use NordVPN?
Well, apparently I know what you're doing behind your virtual private network, Ben.
That's right. You've used NordVPN for a while now, right?
I got it a couple years ago, but in recent history, I've mostly been using it during the American election to watch like U.S. news coverage. Mm-hmm. So in Canada, I couldn't access some of that news, so that's how I used it. And I found it really easy how I can just literally go click which country do I want to be in, basically, from an internet perspective. So I would just pick like U.S. and then I had access to things that were available in the U.S.
It's a vacation for your IP address.
And that's why Ben likes the sponsorship.
Yeah, no, I just like it too. Like your online data is worth a lot. And I agree with Cristine. Like we've tried other VPNs in the past and just one that's super to use so you don't have to like really understand the technical aspect of it. You just like click a button.
You can use it on mobile too, so you can do it on your phone. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's great. But yeah, I've been using NordVPN for a couple of years, so it's cool to have them on as a sponsor.
Yeah, thank you again, NordVPN, for sponsoring this episode. And again, that's nordvpn.com/podlogical, and use the code PodLogical to get an extra month free. Protect your data online. It's not that expensive.
I've been meaning to get a VPN for ages, so it's time. This is a sign. I'll sign up with your code when
there
I
you
go.
go. You better use the code, or I'm going to come find you.
You know where I live.
All right, BitClout. What is BitClout? What is cryptocurrency? Why are people talking about the Bitcoin? Whenever people talk about this, I feel like an old man on my front porch yelling at the kids to get off their skateboards. They're ruining my lawn. People may have seen that wasn't a question. People may have seen articles about BitClout specifically lately because it's this new cryptocurrency that is tied to creators. So they literally have like a chart of like Elon Musk has a coin, Logan Paul has a coin, and they have their own native cryptocurrency that allows you to buy coins. And the sort of premise of it is kind of like, I think, two main things. One is they're literally pitching it as if you're able to invest in these people, like these celebrities, which is interesting from like a Black Mirror social experiment kind of perspective. And it also has like a bit of a Patreon element to it, maybe, in the sense that I think they're suggesting that if you invest in these creators, maybe you get some sort of reward or content from being an investor at a certain tier. So Cristine, Matt, maybe we should just first kind of get the cryptocurrency thing out of the way. They've created a cryptocurrency for this. So do we have like a nutshell answer of like what cryptocurrency even is for the people out there who have only seen the headlines about Bitcoin being expensive and their younger relatives are all into cryptocurrency if they have no idea what it even means?
So, Mr. Finance.
I have to do
you
this?
The crypto expert? Yeah.
We could do like 8 episodes just on blockchains and crypto stuff.
Matt is very knowledgeable about financial stuff, so that's partly why he's here.
Yeah,
right? Tell us.
I gave a lecture on this, actually, like the math of cryptocurrencies once. So like I used to know about this stuff. So cryptocurrencies are a type of digital money that is decentralized and trustless is the idea of it. So digital money sounds crazier than it probably is. Most money is already digital money.
Yeah.
Most people don't use a lot of cash anymore. It's like your bank handles your money, and most money only exists on computers. But the point of Bitcoin, which is an example of a cryptocurrency, is that you don't have to trust a central authority like your bank. If you don't want to have to trust your bank or your country's government central bank, then this money exists sort of distributed on the internet amongst a bunch of computers. And you don't have to trust any of them. Kind of like the architecture is built in a way that it's meant to be entirely secure and unhackable. Whether or not it is we can get into that debate.
And this is the blockchain, right?
Yeah, so the blockchain is the technology that enables cryptocurrencies, and Bitcoin is an example, like the main example of a cryptocurrency. You can do lots of other stuff with blockchain, like NFTs and supply chain stuff.
Gotcha. Okay, so for this service specifically, they created their own cryptocurrency that allows you to buy coins that correspond to celebrities. I think, Cristine, you wanted to talk about this today because you just, I think, have more of an interest in like the social angle of this, right? So they have a BitClout has like a white paper that sort of explains the logic of their service, I guess you would say. And they're sort of suggesting this idea that it allows like fans of these creators to bet on them increasing in popularity. And I think they even give the example at one point that like if someone's in a controversy, their price might go down. I don't even think that is necessarily the case, right? Because what is the value of someone's coin tied to under this service?
Well, I think that's the biggest question I had when I saw this, because they position themselves, or whoever is behind BitClout, which, although you say it's decentralized and there's not supposed to be any body that we are to trust, like someone came up with this still. And so that's kind of something, like, I don't like using the words, oh, it's decentralized, so therefore no one's behind it. Like, that's not really true, though. First of all, I just want to...
Well,
right?
BitClout's a weird example because you can only buy BitClout with Bitcoins. You can't exchange the BitClout back into Bitcoins. And then you're using the BitClout to buy like Elon Musk coin or the Logan Paul coin. And you can only do that from BitClout. So it's not the same as Bitcoin where there's a bunch of people exchanging Bitcoins amongst each other.
Good point. And yeah, the controversy around BitClout right now might be that there is no way of taking your money out of it, as far as I can tell.
Not yet.
Not yet, which maybe makes sense because it's like a new company or a new service, but also...
Sure, but why does that give anyone any confidence in investing in such a thing when there is no evidence that you can get your money actually back in the way you put it in?
Yeah. Well, that's true of a lot of like venture capital investments. You just never know if you're going to get your money back. So like Silicon Valley people are familiar with this, but like you and me are not.
The average person.
So I think that's the bigger point here is like, you know, when we're talking about traditional startup funds and investors and those like assess the risk and they look at financial statements, they look at business proposals and they have an understanding of the risk involved when they're putting up capital. For this, since they're tapping into the audiences of really popular influences that aren't in the crypto sphere necessarily, right? A lot of the appeal is coming from like the top 15,000 Twitter account profiles that were scraped by BitClout from Twitter and just like put their profile up without their consent. Actually, by the way, that's another topic. We'll do that next. But they're using the already established popularity of people in the general mainstream celebrity sphere, let's say. And what do those people have? A bunch of fans. And what do those fans do? Just listen to whatever that person says, or even just follow wherever that person has a profile, even if they haven't claimed their profile on this BitClout thing.
It's hard to ignore that it is ripe for abuse, but a lot of things are, right? Like there's a lot of talk about like Pokemon cards now.
Wish I kept my Pokemon cards.
We had a holographic Charizard.
Yeah. Well, you should have known, Ben.
And I think we just like sold it at a garage sale, or I think we might have given it to my cousin Josh. Yeah. Josh, give me that card back. But like, so I don't think it's a coincidence that a few creators, Logan Paul being one of them, all of a sudden starts talking about how these things are so amazing and rare. And I don't think it's a coincidence. There's sort of like, I think it's a concerted effort to make this kind of thing cool again.
Yeah.
The people who are early adopters of that thing will benefit from it. 3 years from now, I don't think anyone's talking about holographic Charizards unless we're going through another cycle of people caring about
nostalgia
this
cycle.
again. Another nostalgia cycle. Same thing with like sports cards. Like when people talk about NFTs and stuff now, it just reminds me of, collectible baseball cards or hockey cards, and how that sort of industry was destroyed by the manufacturers just flooding the market with those cards so they didn't have the scarcity anymore.
Right.
Anyway, that was a weird tangent. I did want to talk about the Twitter. So BitClout scraped the top, 1,500 Twitter accounts?
So by scraped, it means they basically just copied and pasted the username and profile picture, I think, of the top followed 15,000 Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
And by doing that, it looks like some of the most popular people have profiles on this.
Yeah.
It's not an app, but whatever you call BitClout as a
Platform.
a platform, a place to purchase tokens or creator coins. And although they're not claiming that all these people on this list are a part of this BitClout project, they are not. What they've done is they've put pressure kind of indirectly on creators to claim their profile by holding they say they've reserved their profile. That's the language they use. And then you see that little time clock beside their name. And it's like telling the creator, time is ticking until you claim your profile, and look at all this money that people have already invested in you on this platform. And it's so like weird because like I'm not actually, I didn't even check, but I'm pretty sure I'm not on this list just by nature of I'm not probably not in the top 15,000.
Make an account.
No. We'll get to that later, whether or not we think that's a good idea. But it puts this kind of indirect pressure on creators to participate in something that they may not have any idea, like what is actually going on here.
Does it put pressure? If you saw your name on here, would you feel pressure to participate? Or would you feel pressure to send them a cease and desist?
So I've seen both. I've seen some people send cease and desist. And I think the early accounts of that happening were actually from creators who were bigger in the crypto world.
Space, yeah.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me because they're very popular in that world where this currency and type of thing operates, and their names are being used on a platform that they did not consent to solicit purchasing of their stock, and they're like, what the hell? No. So I understand them, or anyone really on this list. Like, did Ariana Grande agree to this? No. But this is an example of an app or a platform asking for forgiveness instead of permission. So they're doing the approach where they're like, we're just going to take all of your names and your accounts and hope that you'll like the way this plays out. And maybe when you see that $68,000 market value beside your name, you'll think, oh, can I get a piece of my own coin? And maybe it'll turn them.
Because, their white paper also does explain that the creator themselves does have sort of an opportunity to benefit from people investing in their coin, right? I guess that's a value proposition. But if I'm Elon Musk or Kim Kardashian showing up on a website listing a coin with my name and identity tied to it, how is there not a lawsuit there, right?
There are.
It's definitely of dubious legality. I don't want to make any allegations in this forum, but some people have sent cease and desists.
There have been, and I did pick something up from one of them. It's like a California civil code, but there is something that says relating to an individual's right to profit from the commercial value of his or her own identity. So there is language in, some states wherever where this kind of thing is not allowed when it's clearly directly profiting off of it. That being said, we don't know the nature of payouts and how that's operating. But the intention here is that you are to profit off of investing in an individual's name.
Presumably there are some smart and rich people behind this who I would like to think have considered these things. Or maybe you're right. They're just sort of doing it and thinking
they're playing along.
They'll be able to ask forgiveness or just take it down when they need to, and they won't face any serious repercussions.
We looked into who's behind this, like the Winklevoss twins, who if you've seen The Social Network. There's some early Facebook involved people
are they the
behind
cannibals?
this. The what?
Never mind. The actor who
An Army
played...
Hammer? Oh, yeah.
Army Hammer
no.
joke.
For the record, I don't believe the Winklevoss twins. I have no reason to believe that they are cannibals.
But they're behind this?
Are they...
They're investors in this.
They're investors.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not the same.
Yeah, I don't know who's actually behind it.
I
but
thought one of the Reddit guy, like Alex Ohanian, is he? I think he may be involved in this in some way, but
there's
I'm not
legit
sure of
people involved in this. But there was a lot of legit people behind Theranos. That was the blood test company that was a total scam.
Oh no, I don't know about this.
Allegedly a total, allegedly, you know, a total scam. Yeah, a lot of really smart people were invested in that too. So it's dangerous to look at the list of investors and just defer to their authority.
Well, a lot of rich celebrities who invest in things, they're, pitched by companies. We've even seen this a little bit. Like a company wants to be able to publicly associate themselves with you in a way. They just like grant you a very small equity stake in their company. And I don't know, a lot of people are just like, sure, I'll take some equity in your company, and like not necessarily even really look into it, right? It's kind of a scary thing.
Is this like giving these people equity?
I don't know.
Equity in something they may not understand or be able to cash out on.
Let's take a step back from like the technicalities and legalities of this specific service. I don't want to keep saying their name because I don't want anyone to think like we're endorsing them or anything like that. But just the idea of betting on people, on their clout. First of all, anyone who uses the word clout, like unironically in this context, very sus.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and they've sort of proposed this idea that like, oh, if someone's involved in a controversy, they would go down in value. Why would we think that's the case? Because if, as far as I'm aware, the price of someone's coin is only tied to its demand.
Demand, yeah.
Other people's interest in buying it. If I'm, Logan Paul and I film a dead body and news around the world is talking about me, isn't that notoriety just more likely that people buy my coin?
So I found that interesting because in BitClout's white paper, they said that the value of the coin would be tied to the creator's social standing, which when you read that sentence in isolation, you think, oh, so the better a person is, like in terms of their morality and stance or whatever, then the higher their value. That makes sense. But that's not how it's going to roll out in practice, is it?
I don't want to get too technical here, but the BitClout or the creator coins, like the Elon Musk coin, is not a market the way Bitcoin is a market or the stock market is a market where the prices are set by supply and demand. BitClout is deciding the price based on how many people have previously bought it. So if there's a controversy overnight, the next day everybody wants to sell. In a stock market, there might be nobody willing to buy the stock because nobody wants to touch it. It's too toxic. But in this market, you always get to sell at a price determined by how many exist. So if you're the first person to sell in the morning, you're still going to get the highest price, no matter how toxic that creator and coin has now become.
So it's not exactly like a stock market for people.
Yeah, so it's not based on supply and demand the way a market should be. It's just, they decide the price based on how many people have already invested before you.
Yeah, but presumably how many they make available probably corresponds to how many people want to buy that creator's coin.
So like the more people have bought before you, the higher the price is. It's a very subtle difference. I'm sorry for getting too technical.
No, that's
helpful,
useful.
though.
But just like I was sort of using with the Pokemon example, like I feel like some early adopters of this might trick some people into buying a bunch of coins, making money on it, and then 3 years from now, no one cares about this at all, right? That seems very plausible to me.
And didn't that happen?
This isn't the first service to try to, tie a value to a creator. I think, was it BitConnect?
BitConnect 2.0.
I don't want to slander some company if that's not the right name.
It's pretty big. I read about that.
There have been
too,
like
in
Ponzi
2017.
schemes and this is such a there's so much opportunity for fraud when it comes to these things, right? At a social level, though, do we want a system that clout, as we sort of establish, isn't necessarily a positive thing? It would almost be like incentivizing people just to get notoriety for any reason and see their stock price go up in a way, right?
You'd think, like, in theory, this kind of thing would, at surface level, incentivize creators to do good or to be good or be good role models. And wouldn't that be amazing if there was something that actually incentivized creators to do that and not fuck up, right? Not have to make apologies, etc. But this kind of thing, it makes me feel like it's more just pressure to stay relevant rather than making good on your investors, which in this case are your fans who've just like bought your stock. You don't necessarily need to continue just to produce great content and be a good inspiration or role model. You just need to stay relevant so that your name is being spoken increasingly. And that can include being in more controversies.
Absolutely. We see this in like traditional celebrities and online celebrities, right? The more like there's no such thing as bad publicity. I don't know if I really believe that, but there are clearly people who have leveraged this idea that they should just do anything controversial just to appear in headlines, right? Anyway.
Where's the Army Hammer cannibal coin?
Yeah, let's scroll down the list. If you go to their website right now, you'll see the kind of names on here already. Again, they're scrubbed from Twitter. Like you'll see the Elon Musk, but you'll see like a guy like Mr. Beast. Like, I don't know if he wants to be associated with this. An interesting thing about Mr. Beast is he's actually part of a creator fund, I think they're calling it, which is basically like a way of investing in up and coming YouTubers, which I think is a much more sensible model than whatever the hell this is trying to do, where basically they're offering, they're going to handpick some creators, give them money and some mentorship maybe for a stake in their channel. I think that's a pretty interesting thing. I wonder if it's just going to recreate sort of like the economy of like multi-channel networks in a way, though.
Team 10.
Or yeah, it's almost like, is that really that different than what Jake Paul did with Team 10, where he basically owned 10% of his friends' channels, and then when they all wanted to leave, they were mad about that, I guess. But yeah, it's interesting. I feel like we're going to hear more and more examples of like creators giving up equity in their personal brands in the future. And I feel like we're going to hear a lot of crazy stories about what that means and what the financial implications of that are.
Well, that market already exists for like professional athletes. You can invest in like a share of how much a promising college athlete will make in their, hopeful NFL career one day. So to me, it sounds a lot like that. Maybe rather than buying equity in like what are these? I don't know the things about the social media.
Yeah.
The what did you call them? The
multi-channel
networks.
Yeah.
You can also just there's already like a market, and you can buy and sell musicians' songs. This happens all the time. So like that kind of traditional.
The song. So that's like an asset in particular.
Right.
It's not the person.
Yeah, I guess with the athletes, you're literally you're buying their sports revenues, only their sports revenues. Okay. If they do a Coca-Cola ad, I guess you don't get a cut of that.
Is that because they have set up
Yeah,
corporations?
it's just the way you write that contract. Yeah.
So that's still an entity that the person is directly tied to, as opposed to just like their existence.
Yeah,
as
but if it's
a
essentially an
person.
alter ego, you're basically investing in a person in a way. I've never heard of that though, actually.
It's a thing. Maybe you and I, maybe you can do it, you fancy people. But like little people like me, I'm not investing in athletes.
Can I invest in hockey players? And then it's like raising the stakes on sports, right? Just like gambling makes sports more exciting. If I'm personally invested, if I have a financial investment in an athlete,
Yeah, do it.
maybe we should. Christine, can we look into this?
But this is just speculation. You're buying these Elon Musk coin, and you hope that later someone is going to be willing to buy it from you for more money than that. You're not getting a piece of anything Elon Musk does. Maybe you're getting like a DM from him.
If he signs up, because he's not.
Part of the pitch here is that like I assume people are familiar with Patreon, where you pay for some privileged access or exclusive content. So they've in the white paper they really lean on that pretty heavily. They're like, if you invest enough money in Elon Musk, maybe he'll send you a DM. Maybe he'll let him DM you, and he'll promise to read your DMs. But I don't know. Is anybody actually using this functionality yet?
But this isn't a service. Like Patreon is a service where you pay a subscription fee, different tiers for different levels of service, and you know what you're getting.
Right.
And I guess you could look at it as you're investing in their work or long-term future, but you know what you're getting in return. This is just a stock market of those people without any promise of content or deliverables. It's not the same thing.
Well, Matt, with your extensive knowledge of social media, celebrities, and all of that, I thought maybe you could give us some stock tips today.
Well, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice.
Do you have your tea?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, I want you to tell us if we should buy or sell on some of these creators.
Ben, what did you do?
I don't know who that is.
If you, all right, let's.
Is
see
that
if
one
we...
of the biggest YouTubers?
So this is first up. We've got Joey Graceffa.
Nope.
He's got great hair. The secret is he
Okay.
doesn't use shampoo.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he was very big years ago recently he does some content with like adopting puppies, produces a lot of good content. A lot of people really fall for the puppy content.
I like puppies.
Yeah. So would you
I
would
did
you
a collab with him once.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
okay.
actually a very sweet
He
guy.
needs
Sounds
the
like a
full
good guy.
background before he
Yeah.
decides whether to buy or sell.
Are we buying or selling Joey Graceffa?
I'm hearing only good things, so I'm gonna say buy. I have a
But
$100
buy
price
when?
target. Buy
When is the best time to buy in?
buy ahead of the next puppy video.
Okay, see, this is the advice that I want. Not that I'm actually
When
doing
to
this.
buy, yeah.
Yeah, when do you buy in?
Well, he has lasting power, right? He's been on the platform many years. Maybe he's
So you
in
should
an
have bought in
ebb or
12 years
flow.
ago.
Well, we don't have a time. I want the value of these people as of today,
God.
as Matthew is speculating on them. You know, we don't have a time machine.
Is he on BitClout?
No, none of these people are, well, that we know of.
Next up, we have your girl, Superwoman, Lily Singh, Canadian.
Uh-huh.
She has her own late night talk show that comes on at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
So in the video where we opened mail, she sent you some mail, and you asked me if I knew who she was, and I had no idea.
Nah.
I'd never even heard of her name before, and she's like an actual legitimate
She's a big
crossover
deal.
celebrity. She's a real person. Not
She's
like
a real
these-
person?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you buying or selling? The main thing with her is she really tried to shift from her YouTube channel to
Yeah.
traditional media.
I was exposed to some of her late night stuff. I think she was covered on like Hassan Minhaj's show.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I think that's where I've sort of seen her, and I was not impressed, let's say, by her shtick. So
Okay.
I'm gonna sell.
Okay. Okay.
You're going to, wait,
Yeah.
so you had it in the first place?
Or I'm-
You
I'm
invested
I'm
in the
shorting
first
it.
place?
Yeah.
Shorting it.
Shorting the
What
BitClout.
does it mean to short someone's BitClout stock?
Yeah, I don't think you can do that yet.
Please, let's not get into this again.
So
All right.
that's-
Next up, Logan Paul,
man,
most
You know who that
well-known.
is?
Yeah.
Why?
Everybody is just
You know him because he's a boxer, right?
exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Multi-talent. Hey, he was just on The Masked Singer. He's a
Okay.
boxer. He has talked publicly about BitClout and how
Oh,
he's
has he? But he
pub-
hasn't. He hasn't.
He hasn't
registered his
verified
account.
himself,
Yeah.
but he like basically encouraged his fans to buy it to encourage him to verify it.
What?
Yeah, so I've heard that's a strategy that the second you verify your profile, your stalker value will go up
Oh,
because all of a
sure, of
sudden you're
course.
legitimized.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if you
yeah.
tell people to buy in, like, oh, I'm going to be on there soon, buy in, you're inflating it before you buy in, and that has a direct benefit to you when you buy your first creator coins.
Yeah. Also, you can buy you can invest in yourself.
Yes.
Right. And then so that's a weird.
And
Yeah.
they recommend you do that at the outset because
course they
it's
do.
Yeah. well,
less
yeah, of course, yeah,
expensive if you
exactly.
buy your
Yeah,
own
yeah.
coins before you buy someone
Drives up
else's.
your own value.
Yeah. Are we buying or selling on Logan?
Oh,
You know?
man, okay. Back when I was like in some like DMs with your fans who found me,
Wait, why were you doing that?
Why were you
was-
talking about Logan?
someone asked me if I liked him or the other one, and I said I can't stand these jerks, and they were really people were upset.
Really?
People
Shouldn't
like
have said that.
People like them for some reason. Stop liking him.
Okay, we're selling. We're selling on Logan
get,
and Jake.
get rid of him.
Get rid of him.
He's colorblind. Just another
I'm
fun
a
fact.
strawberry. Next up,
That's
James,
James
Charles.
That's a person whose name I know.
You recognized
Why
him.
do you know his name?
He's a makeup mogul.
He's one of the most successful YouTubers on the platform, something like 20 million subscribers. He has a makeup empire. The rumor is he may have a business relationship with Morphe to set up his own makeup line. Don't know what that is. Happens to be a terrible person.
Oh, yeah.
Who recently admitted to sending sexual messages to underage boys and tried to blame them for doing it.
Okay.
Are we buying or selling on James Charles?
Well, that really goes to Christine's point. Do you want to invest in the controversial people?
Very controversial, yeah.
What would happen to his BitClout value?
Well, everyone's talking about him. I
Has it
presume
gone
would
up?
go up.
Like he must have a profile because he's.
The only thing
probably
is,
one of the
if
top
he
ones.
ends up in prison, I don't know if that would be good for the value of his
Yeah,
coin.
so maybe it's high now because of the media attention.
Yeah,
but
it's-
if such media attention does result in an absolute kind of cancellation over time, presumably your social value would decline.
You can't tweet from prison, can you?
Jesus Christ.
I think if you can get a phone, maybe. Yeah.
There's ways to get a phone, I think.
All right, moving on. Bad Baby.
Oh, I know her from Dr. Phil.
Cash Me Outside.
Yeah.
Famously exploited by the Dr. Phil show.
Oh, yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
somehow leveraged that as being a controversial 13-year-old
Yeah.
girl meme.
I mean, good for her.
Leveraged that into an actual career in the entertainment industry and a musical career.
I think she was a kind of a troubled youth, and I hope she's in a better place now. And good for her for changing her notoriety into business success. I hope she's a good person now. I have no idea. I don't really care for her music, but I'm
White Horse.
We're buying
I'm
on
gonna
Bad
buy.
Baby.
I'm gonna say buy Bad Baby.
Okay,
Yeah.
I buy Bad Baby too.
I can't recommend her music, but buy the coin.
White Horse. White
White-
Horse.
Is that a song?
It's part of her song.
Oh,
White Porsche, White Horse. That's the lyrics I recall.
It's deep. Next up, Sophia Nygaard.
Sophia!
oh, I almost didn't write. That's a weird picture of her.
It's her lipstick ad.
Okay, I almost didn't recognize her. No, yeah, Sophia's the best.
Oh, okay. I don't even.
So
need
are we
to-
buying?
Sophia number 1.
Or have we been invested since day one?
You should better be.
Well, I think we might want to double down on her buy.
Double down.
She didn't post a lot of content last year.
But she's
There's a bit
coming
of a
back.
lull. Now she's posting again. I think
But
now
what
would
if
be
we
a good
have
time
insider
to buy.
information about her video schedule and her projects
do.
because we're friends?
That's
a really
fascinating
interesting
question.
Point. We could
What if
buy
you know?
right before. Also, if a huge controversy actually drives someone's coin up, why couldn't you just manufacture a controversy
Like
for
the
yourself?
drama channels, they're all going to invest
do
in
it.
someone and then cause drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, this isn't a good thing. Okay, like I don't want people to
so
be
many
confused about
opportunities
it.
here.
But this is just insane to me from a social perspective. Like you can start manufacturing things just to profit from it. I mean, not that that's anything new, but
Yeah.
wild.
Next up, Nikita Dragon. She graduated first in her class, but she's a very controversial figure. She's been accused of many things. She has been hosting parties throughout the pandemic and flaunting public health guidelines.
Don't care for it. Also, first in what class?
Well, it's because her name in the alphabet was actually early, so she was called up on stage first.
What? Why do people know that? Who cares? Is this an
Because she
important
said
part
she
of her-
graduated
is
first
this
in her
part of
class.
her persona?
She told people that.
Okay, I don't know who this is. I don't care about this person. Leave it alone.
You don't know who this is?
No.
Oh, I love Matt. He doesn't know anything.
Is this a popular person?
Yeah.
Okay. On what? YouTube?
In the YouTube social media sphere, yeah.
It's just there's only like 5 YouTubers you need to watch.
Who are they?
SimplyPodLogical?
Maybe that's the 6th.
It doesn't make the top 5.
All right, and last one.
Oh, God.
Are we buying or selling on Simply Nailogical?
Oh,
She's
you
a former nail artist. Stop
Yep.
painting her nails. Big risk investing in hers if she were to ever break a nail.
Ooh, good point.
Completely undermine her profitability.
But-
you think?
Well, you're not investing in profitability. You're not, when you invest in a company, you're in theory buying a share of their, future profits. But
All my broken nail
is-
videos have the most views.
oh, excellent point. Yeah,
is
see,
true.
It's very
So
different.
my
from,
controversies, you're going to make bank off every time I break a nail.
Also, BitClout is only Twitter accounts. So am I going to buy Holo Taco Twitter or am I going to buy Simply Twitter? I don't know. What do I buy?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I think, anytime you buy a creator stock, you're probably inherently buying part of, their other branches.
What if you're a YouTuber? You don't have Twitter. You can't buy a BitClout.
Yeah, you just don't exist.
Just
You
don't
don't
exist. Yeah.
exist.
Does everyone have Twitter now?
You don't count.
What about if you're banned off Twitter?
Oh, hey, that's a good question. Where's the Donald Trump?
Good question.
By
Are
Sidney
we gonna
Powell.
go there?
They couldn't scrape his account because it didn't
It
exist
doesn't
anymore.
exist, yeah. It probably does. Does it still exist and there's nothing there? I don't even know if it's even up on the...
I don't think,
On the
I don't think
leaderboard.
it's there. I don't think you can find anything.
It's a loser now. Okay, well, I have 2 questions from this.
Okay.
Is this actually a good thing for, creators and then their audiences? Let's start with creators. Is this good for creators, this ecosystem of BitClout? And why not?
I don't know. If it was more like a Patreon model makes a ton of sense to me and seems much more intuitive than this. First of all, we don't even know if there's any way of getting money out of this ever, first of all. So maybe it's not good for anyone.
I mean, if the Patreon thing does take off and you're one of the early quote-unquote investors and you get some sort of privileged access for that, even if you can never get your money out, I could see some value in it, I guess. If it lets you, DM these people and they'll promise to read your DMs.
Clearly, the people who created this think there's a value proposition for creators to participate. I just don't know if I see much probability of it really turning into something real.
Yeah, well, we live in an entrepreneurial capitalist society, so it doesn't matter if it's valuable. The market will decide if it's valuable or not. Look how much money people have put into this.
Yeah.
Which is scary. Like, I look at that and I'm not like, yeah, I should claim mine. Like, I am terrified.
Yeah, like right now, Elon Musk's coin is $68,000 for some reason.
So
wait,
and that means there's like hundreds
that
of
mean?
thousands invested. You'd have to do a little bit of math. The math is in the white paper. So
I think if you go to, like, if you were to go to his profile, it'll tell you
money has been put
the
into
market
it.
value.
Right, yeah.
And that's where you know actually
that's
how
a
much
huge
money.
amount of money. There's probably millions of dollars invested into this already.
And that's terrifying to me. And I think it's one thing if you're someone who actually has like meaningful knowledge of cryptocurrencies and how they operate, and maybe you have Bitcoin and you have an appreciation or some kind of education into it. That's one thing. But if you're a creator who doesn't have that and you just saw your name on this and you're like, oh, I could get some of that money and I could ask fans for that money, I'm going to sign up. And then you tweet it, because in order to verify your profile, they require that you, from your verified Twitter account, tweet it, your BitClout key or something. And by doing so, it like locks you in and registers you to claim the profile. And you've also shared that with your maybe millions of followers who now see this as a legitimate thing. Oh, because in the same way that fans respond well to sponsorships maybe from their favorite creators and they trust them, they're like, oh, I'm going to buy some of your coins. When the creator, especially like mainstream creators who aren't crypto people, let's say, don't necessarily have a full understanding of this. They're just maybe doing this because they felt in a weird way pressure to just claim it. And like, I'm not going to say everyone who does this is greedy, but I think that there are some people who look at this as an opportunity of like, there's already money floating with my name right beside it. I should claim that
Why not
because
grab
I'm in,
it?
why not? Yeah. And that terrifies me because I think there's so many, because I don't think everyone who has signed up for this and verified, I don't think everyone has a full appreciation for the risks involved and the responsibility for what that means for their audiences. The second they say, by the way, I've reserved my profile, what if all your audience, not all, but a chunk of your audience invests in you, and then this thing just kind of goes to bust and everyone's lost their money?
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah, but I don't think your followers necessarily have an appreciation for that risk in the same way that people who invest in these like crypto markets like do. So that's what scares me.
You do need to buy crypto in the first place to even participate in this.
And it might be someone's first time doing that just so they can buy their favorite YouTubers, BitClout.
That's a good point, yeah.
I think people have the responsibility to do some, like, due diligence is the finance word.
Except
do a little bit of research.
I
before
agree
buy
with you.
something.
And, like, not every YouTuber needs to be the parent to everyone watching them. Absolutely, I'm not saying that. But this, to me, is just more riskier, especially when you like I don't have a full appreciation. I could never do this with confidence and put it out to my audience, just in the same way that I wouldn't advertise like a weight loss product, because it's not something I support or completely understand, and it's not really what I want to put out because it causes so much risk and potential for harm to my audience.
There is definitely, I think, a moral gray area with, like, Mr. Beast is one of the top people on here. He has an audience that has a lot of young people in it who probably won't understand this at all, but want to be invested in Mr. Beast.
This is my point. That's a
But
better
the
way of
creators
saying it.
don't even have to sign off on this. People will go here and
Exactly.
assume that you've endorsed it just because your name is there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and that is terrifying to me. And I've seen some creators kind of fall into this, like, I'm not going to say trap, but it feels like it when your name is already put up on this board. You're like, oh, I should claim it, I guess, because, like, that's my likeness and there's money and it's growing. And then they tweet out, like, oh, I've decided to join, peer pressure, buy my coins, I guess. Like,
You should claim your account and then just post, don't buy these coins.
or can you liquidate it? I don't know. Like, what's the way around? What's the best response?
Yeah,
to
if you
this?
make an account, then can you just close it immediately?
Well, we can't take any money out right now.
Who
Can
knows?
you use it for other purposes? Like, everything earned will be donated to charity, and there's some assurance of that. Like, maybe there's other ways to use this for good, but we also don't know if any of this is going to be paid back in real dollars.
Well, hey, like, that's important. Like, the money that when you're buying these Elon Musk coins, Elon Musk is not getting that money. The money kind of goes into the system here. So you can't even promise to give that money to charity. You're not getting that money.
That's a really good point, and I think that the average consumer of like YouTube culture doesn't know that or understand that, and that is
Yeah.
the risk here. But that was also, I think, part of the strategy of BitClout and its creators is that by appealing to the masses beyond just like the cryptocurrency world, you're getting all these people who are like, I love this person, I'll just, okay, let me buy some, without a full appreciation.
Yeah, but like maybe we're overthinking this and it's just not that different than like if someone came out with a bunch of trading cards that had celebrities on them and didn't properly get the licensing deal with those celebrities to do it, right? Would we really be so concerned that kids are buying Eva Gutowski trading cards? You know what I mean?
Well, it's almost exactly the same thing, right? Like you're basically you're signing up for kind of like a fan club, and the price of the fan club subscription goes up based on how many people are already in the fan club. And maybe you might get like an email newsletter or something, or you can email them via the fan club. But like
Maybe.
that's a pretty good analogy, I think, for what this is.
Yeah, but they'd be sued because you can't take someone's likeness and put them on a card and sell it without their consent.
I can make a Katy Perry fan club. In fact, I did once.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I started the University
your
of
teenage
Alberta Math and Stats Department Katy Perry fan club.
Oh, yeah?
I think the Facebook page still exists. Look it up.
Were you the only member? Or?
No, well,
How much to
back in
join?
the day on Facebook, you can just add whoever you wanted to Facebook groups.
Okay.
So I just added everyone I knew in the math department to the Facebook group, and it was up to them to leave. So it was very much like this.
So wait, are you more about Katy Perry or Taylor Swift?
Oh, back in the day, I was a much bigger Katy Perry fan. I was a big Lady Gaga fan, and then I was a big Katy Perry fan, and then a big Taylor Swift. I'm probably today a bigger Taylor Swift fan.
Oh, what do you think of? She just
I'm
re-recorded.
loving these re-recordings.
She re-recorded Fearless.
Yeah, and good
right?
for her. I love that you can just do that.
I love
Get
that
around
she's
copyright laws.
taking ownership of it, but like she had just released probably the best album of her career.
Oh,
I
I don't know
think.
about that.
I think she was having a bit of an artistic renaissance, and she's kind of interrupted that
Oh, I see.
trajectory
I see what you
to
mean.
re-record her greatest hits. I totally understand her motivation to want to own the rights of those new tracks, right? Or those re-recordings. But, you know, I want to keep hearing music produced by Bon Iver and The National and her sort of new artistic direction.
Yeah, I'm a huge Bon Iver fan. I'm a huge National fan. But my favorite, what I want from pop stars is like the big pop hits. Like style. That's my favorite Taylor Swift. This is a Taylor Swift podcast now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you invest in Taylor Swift's BitClout?
That's probably before any of the others we've discussed.
So we've asked, is this good for creators? But
You don't want to talk about Taylor Swift?
What's your favorite Taylor
Trying to
Swift
stay
song?
on topic. I like the one with Bon Iver. We've asked if this is a good thing for creators, but is this good for their audiences? I think is the next question.
But potentially, but probably won't be.
Because I think one thing I want to bring up is the difference between the average person investing in the traditional stock market and the average investor in something like BitClout, which attracts a different audience because it's an audience of people who like YouTubers and influencers, is that all of a sudden you've got more people who are investing based on their emotions. Whereas in the traditional stock market, yes, there is some emotional investing, like I just really like this brand, so I'm gonna buy some stock. But usually people use data, to make these decisions. They look at history and they try to make more I'm not saying
You have more faith in the market than I do. Yeah. Especially the last couple of years with people staying at home during the pandemic and, being bored and putting their, CERB money into the market. Like, just buy the things you've heard of. Buy GameStop.
It's hope. Well, sure, but that's like hopeful investing. I guess what I'm saying is when you're investing in like influencers, it can be easily manipulated by what they say to you to make you feel like become part of my family, join to become a member. And that's already happening with like memberships, and we've seen like abuse of that, or like help me put food on the table. Meanwhile, they have millions of dollars. So that's already going on, and I feel like this just poses so much more risk for that emotional investing compared to the traditional stock market.
I agree with you to the extent that these people have young audiences that can be manipulated. But if we're talking about adults with money, they have a responsibility they have agency to do whatever they want with their money and invest it in whatever they want. Like, I'm not personally in the crypto space at all because it's not something I really
have a risk tolerance for.
Yeah, or really just even believe that, maybe it doesn't matter whether or not people will meaningfully use it as a currency, But when I see things like Elon Musk, tweet out the words Doge and Dogecoin goes up 5,000%, to me, like, that is not something I want any piece of. That just seems like a shit show, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of money to be made there, but I'm also not. I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
Didn't Elon Musk buy a bunch of Bitcoin and then like 2 weeks later tweet that it was too expensive?
Well, he also bought a bunch of Bitcoin and then said Tesla is now accepting Bitcoin.
Okay. Yeah,
So it's also like you're clearly seeing people pumping up the price of Bitcoin when they clearly have that incentive to do that, right?
And that's what I've seen some people do with this, though, is before they've locked in their verification, or even after they're verified, I've seen evidence of some creators say, like, you better buy some BitClout because something's about to drop next week. I'm not going to tell you what.
Have you seen it? Like, I feel like we're talking about this specific service a lot when this thing could just be gone like 3 weeks from now and no one will remember it.
That's a really good point. That we don't know because this hasn't really materialized to be executed in the way it was envisioned yet, because we're not seeing any of the things it's intended to do with like the membership kind of model or the payouts. As far as my preliminary research has shown, no one has paid themselves back yet because it's currently in beta testing, like that, the ability to do that. So you can't get the money back in a meaningful way.
Or at all.
Yeah.
Has there ever been, I wonder who the first YouTuber like to go public will be has there been a YouTuber that's created a brand that has gotten so successful it's a publicly traded company?
It's
probably not, right?
I don't know.
No, who would that be? Michelle Phan, like early on, started a beauty company that got huge. Here's a question. Who's the most like financially successful YouTuber ever?
Well, what do you consider a YouTuber?
Yeah, and do you count their brands?
Even if they leverage their online career to build something off platform, like I think the obvious answer is like Ryan Toys Review. Is it Ryan's Toy Review or Ryan Toys Review? Anyway, kids channel. And actually that's a good example. Like, so they've made like a stupid amount of money online, but now like you can buy a bunch of toys with his face on it in Walmart, right? Mm-hmm. They're probably the best guess for who the boast is. I wonder what sort of numbers we're talking about there.
I don't really know. I would imagine someone like Michelle Phan, though, with her company Ipsy, that did very well. But I couldn't tell you the numbers off the top of my head. But that's a business that she built. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to invest in that business, I mean, I have no idea if they ever did rounds for funding or anything. But you could invest just by buying her product, in a sense, if you want to look at it on a more... that's traditional, like I'm buying your product, so I'm investing in you in a way, but not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you're giving them revenue, but like if someone could have, recognized Ryan's Toy Review as a fetus and been like, that kid's gonna make $100 million, to own any piece of the personal brand of that kid would obviously be a huge...
That sounds great in theory, but then what does that mean for that creator if increasingly people are buying parts of them and betting on their future success? Never mind like the mental anguish that might cause in terms of putting pressure on you to be like, oh my God, all these people have faith in me and like maybe they're just starting out or beginning. I can't imagine that.
Well, the thing we haven't considered is like this is just limited to like the top 1,500 Twitter accounts right now.
Yeah.
What if in the future everyone has a price?
Yeah, it's not. Anybody can get a BitClout.
So you can sign up. They just scraped
anyone
the first...
can sign up.
So they just didn't want to start empty. So they took the top 1,500 Twitter.
They didn't want to start with nobodies. They wanted to start with really famous people to attract the nobodies who would start spending money on it.
But presumably like anyone who isn't a celebrity,
they can make their own.
Why would the value of their coin be like anything? Is it tied? It's not really tied to like their productivity as a human being.
No, not anything.
Like if they show up in the local paper.
According to BitClout, your price, your value is determined by your social status and celebrity.
Well, that's pretty
terrifying. Isn't that a terrifying life lesson? So now we have kids, on Instagram looking for more likes and being sad when they don't get enough likes. And is this the next step?
Are people going to be checking their market cap?
People haven't invested enough money in me. I'm not worth as much as my friend Jane.
Yeah. You could even just like use like social media score as like your sort of correspondence for the value, right?
Well, that was literally the Black Mirror episode. right? The social scores.
Yeah,
That's happening in China already, isn't it? Like
That's
social-
what
social
the
credit
episode
scores.
was kind of based on, I think, when I read an article about it.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
So, is anyone jumping onto this? We should be clear about I guess my opinion has been clear thus far about what I think of this. But I just will also add that I historically, ever since like opening a bank account when I was like 12 and I had like a little Leo Savers account or whatever,
Little Leo.
I
had one of
am
those.
very conservative when it comes to my finances because I'm a planner. I don't take risks if I think there's a potential for much loss. I realize that sets me back because I'm not getting as big of rewards, but I'm okay with that because that's just the way that I like to operate my life and my anxiety. So as a conservative financial person, like this is not for me at this time, given its current state. And also I think personally, the biggest problem I see is how they just took the names of users of famous people, use their already established reputations to legitimize this service and use it to kind of capture their fans to lure them in. And that has a big problem with me. If any brand does something like that to me, like uses my name without my permission, no, I'm not supporting you. Lawsuit, well, I don't know what that, but it's just like that is shady business practices to me. And so that's what I see in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the way this has been handled and created, but I think some kind of monetization, securitization of celebrities, creators is kind of inevitable. I think like I think it's a really fascinating idea.
Yeah.
And someone will get it right.
You're not wrong. Like I think this is
I
fascinating
agree.
from like a sociology perspective in terms of like how do we classify humans and compare them and monetize. I mean, we're monetizing ourselves right now. Like this is a monetary economy this. We're monetizing you, Matthew.
You're not getting paid.
We'll have to buy you dinner or something, I guess. But
got
yeah,
the tea.
it's fascinating from that perspective. I wonder if like people in college are writing papers on this because this is like if I was in college right now, I'm writing a paper on this.
A friend of mine is taking a like law of cryptocurrencies or something course right now. I'll talk to her about this.
Yeah, no, this is so cool. What do you think, Ben? Would you start a profile?
Yeah, no, I don't believe in this. But when it comes to like your risk tolerance, I get that. But I think there's nothing wrong with like if you can afford to be investing in things, to have like 5 to 10% of your wealth or your investments into more speculative things actually kind of makes sense, especially if you're young or you can afford to lose that money. Like you can invest a little bit of your money in something that you like can accept that, hey, if this money just disappeared, I'd be okay with it. But gamble on things that are risky. But I would just say you should do that with things that are risky that you like. And I don't like this.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, it's okay if you can afford to, bear some risk for a small portion of your portfolio, but don't gamble on things that you're, immorally opposed to or don't actually like. I mean, there's lots of people who choose to do that. It's just not something I could sleep with doing.
Yeah, here's my number one takeaway non-financial advice here is that don't buy the Elon Musk coin just because you like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
That's not, you're not doing what you think you're doing.
No, that's absolutely true, especially because like he didn't claim it. And even if he did, he's not running this or guaranteeing anything through this. Like if you want to support him, follow his Twitter, buy his products, invest in Tesla, I guess.
Yeah. Well, apologies to Eva Gutowski. We were
Why
gonna
her?
have her on today.
Yeah, who is this?
We were gonna talk about her coin.
Does she have a
Is
coin?
she on there?
I don't know. If you I guess we'll see you next Taco Tuesday.
Thank you guys so much for watching. It was lovely
Thanks for
having
having me back.
Matthew on again for the second time. If you didn't, this is your
the
second
third time.
right? Third time.
That's-
because
oh,
I
yeah.
wasn't there the last time. Yeah, so Matthew's been on for 2 podcasts, and if you missed his intro, you can watch that podcast. We'll put that link down below. And then you guys also have a brother podcast, which was on stocks, right?
We talked about the
GameStop.
GameStop,
Yeah, you just
yeah,
get the
that's
name
it.
wrong over and over and over.
Yeah, GameSpot.
GameSpot?
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see
see
y'all
y'all
later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.